Sir, man, it's the Free Breakfast Podcast, food for thought and your most important meal of the day. I go by the name of the DJ Paulie Guap.
And I am Hefe Lockhart here on the check-in, man. And today we here with a man of many hats, man, Mr.
Man.
Ricky Singh.
Yes, sir.
We welcome you to the Free Breakfast Podcast.
Appreciate it. Appreciate
Welcome,
it.
brother.
How you doing today?
Good. On winter break, so free.
Okay.
Feel free.
For the people that don't know, man, tell them what a winter break for
Yes,
you is,
yes.
how gracious and amazing that
Yeah.
is with your responsibility to our community.
So winter break for me is actually still work, but it's a different kind of work. I could work in the kitchen while I'm cooking steak. I could work outside. I could work with a beverage. I could work in coffee. So I think it allows just work to occur when I want it to occur, as opposed to just between 7 and 4. So definitely some more family time, more downtime.
Now I know we just threw people in and said winter break, but can you tell the people, give the people some
So winter
context
break,
on your title?
Yeah, so I am
winter break
the
means to
head of Charlotte Lab Upper School, and I run one of Center City's, I think, only remaining high schools. So winter break is a great time right before Christmas and New Year's. So for us, it's about a 2-week period, which is beautiful. And it comes after, so we have Thanksgiving for a week, and you got this weird 3-week time, and then this 2-week period. So it kind of goes right into New Year's and kind of getting us ready for the end of the semester, which is cool.
And speaking of Charlotte Lab School, you are coming off an amazing run right now. You all just did a great collab with ASICS and Social Status.
Yeah.
Kind of talk about that and what
We got to back up.
We got to back
in
up.
the
We got to
story.
back up. Okay.
How do you even go about starting a school? I walk in here and this doesn't even look like a typical school to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think we got to get the back end on the
Yeah.
school first and then drive it into the ASICS
I
school.
like it. I like it.
Can I put this over there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think for the school, it really was. I think the school's founded. It's a public charter school, K through 11. Next year we'll kind of fully wrap up with 12th grade, and we would have done K-12 in the city. So this is our 8th year in the city, but it really started from like-minded individuals and educators trying to answer, well, why not? Or what if? So I think those questions aren't synonymous with education. I think creatives and like yourselves and others are asking those same questions. Why not? What if we did that?
Right.
So I think we wanted to ask those questions and pursue them in a way through the lens of education. And here we are, 8 years later, continuing to ask those questions. Why not do a collab with a company? What if youth actually drove creations in the market? And this is a true physical testament to that work. But there's so many years of work before that. I think this one's definitely getting a lot of notoriety because it's something that people can hold in their hands, right? It's an international release. But I think what's I'm most excited about is that it's pushing people to think about those questions. Why not? What's the worst that can happen if you connect with youth, right? So that's what I'm most excited about.
You haven't always been in education, so kind of talk about what drove you to even being in this field.
Yeah. This is year 17. So
of being an educator.
Yeah.
Oh,
in
wow.
education. So, I think I've always worked with youth in some manner or fashion. And I remember, I actually just told somebody this. I was getting ready to graduate my bachelor's, and I was sitting on the train, and a lot of my friends at the time were getting jobs like McDonald's. They were just coming out. It was a weird time in the city and in the country. This was in New York. And I think there wasn't enough jobs, something like that. And I was like, man, I'm not working fast food. That's not happening right now. So I remember sitting on the train and seeing an ad for New York City teaching fellows. And it says something like, do you like kids, or something like that. And I remember going home and telling my girl, who's my wife now, and I was like, oh, I think I'm going to apply for this. And see what happens. At that point, I was already working with youth on like some art stuff, whatever it might be. And then I got accepted, and they were like, "Oh, well, we think from these surveys you would be good in special education." And 3 months later, I was in a classroom.
Wow.
That's how quick. So they give you like I think 6 to 8 weeks of training per se, and then I started teaching in Bushwick, Brooklyn. Loved it. I created New York City's first hip hop after school program way back. I think it was like 07 or something. But fell in love with the craft and like using creativity in that sense. But I fell in love with understanding like the power of youth and like really finding alternative ways to invest in them outside of the classroom, which I think sometimes makes the impact for some people.
Kind of talk about like where you're from originally. A lot of people they know you in Charlotte, but like kind of talk about your origin.
I'm originally from Fort Greene, Bed-Stuy. I moved here about 11, 12 years ago.
Brooklyn in the house.
Just
that's a fact.
I mean, not typical, but grew up in the hood like Fort Greene, and like it looks very different now. Like there's a whole stadium there, and like I went back. I want to say like a month ago, and like every time I go back, it just looks completely different, which is cool. It's cool to see areas like develop, but then there's also the other side of like you kind of reminisce on like what home was. So I think home for me right now is Charlotte. I think my time in New York was cool for that period of my life, but like I really consider Charlotte my home. I think it's like where my kids see home. It's where their roots are planted. So, but I mean, I was a horrible student in high school. I was just like not the best student. So I think I look back at those experiences sometimes. And I think that's why like not much will shock me from youth, because I think like I've either seen it or I've done it myself. So I think that frame of reference has made me better as an educator. Becoming like a father made me better like tenfold.
Wow.
Because I'm no longer like empathizing with parents, but I'm actually like relating with them on the same level.
Right.
And your son attends here, right?
Yeah. So I have 4 sons, 2 in their 20s, and then 2 that go here. So one a 6th grader, one a 7th grader. And they both have always gone here. So they actually have no frame of reference of any other school. I know, it's kind of crazy.
They've never been to a public school?
Well, this is public, but a traditional public.
Traditional public school,
No.
right.
I was about to say, what's one of the main, you can just say the main, what's one of the main key differences about being an educator in the North and an educator in the South?
Man. I think like, for me, from my perspective, at-risk looked different. So when I was working with at-risk youth in Bushwick, Brooklyn, it looked different than when I was working with at-risk youth in Mooresville, North Carolina. And I think that was a good experience for me to see the outside of my bubble. Like when I first moved, I was working in Mooresville. And what I would have thought an at-risk like student and their abilities or whatever it might be appeared to be didn't always turn out that way. So I think seeing that like, at-risk translates a lot of things, right? Race, ethnicity, gender, whatever it might be, but it looks differently in different parts of the country, right? You could be financially sustainable and still be at risk. You could be financially well off and still be at risk. So like, just growing as an educator, I think was important. I think that's the difference I found in coming up. I think the cost of living is different by state, so the salary is naturally different. Like, I think that's a part of it too.
I think it's wild. When I was young, I used to always be like, man, I wish we had money like certain people. But then when you meet certain people who have money, and then their problems, bro, they problems about worse than yours, and it'd be like, damn, like, bro, you got this, that, like, bro, what you crying for, bro? Like, but it's like you never know what somebody's truly going through inside the walls of that home. So
even from adults, right? I mean, there's so many, even recently, right? There's so many successful people in their own right that like. You just don't know what people are struggling with, and like where they are in their journey. I think the same thing for kids is like helping that's some of the work I do too. Even here is like help, like reminding folks that like children are just like mini adults. Like you might wake up and have a bad day. They might wake up and have a bad, like they're just mini adults. But I think you're right. I think like people are just, you don't know where they're at in their journey and like how that actually plays out in real life, you know?
In the beginning of the interview, Hefe, the introduction, he said Ricky Singh is a man of many hats. Touch on that, because growing up, I want to backtrack just a little bit. Let's take it back to New York. Creativity, you're a painter. People don't know you are a producer. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't know kind of the journey of how your creativity led you here. So kind of talk about the origins of your creativity with painting and producing.
Yeah, I mean, I would just used to do graffiti in New York. Like, I mean, I grew up doing that, and like I would say that's like typical to New York, probably. Like there's now I think there's a whole like commercial part of the culture, but back then it was just like a subculture of it. I remember doing that with my brother a lot. I used to write a lot of spoken word. Used to do a lot of spoken word. Used to want to record. This is like, back then where you couldn't just pay $500 and like create a studio. Right. So like, started making beats, somehow start getting placements and, started actually like producing with hip hop acts that still exist now. Well, I haven't done that in a long time. I mean, I remember we were going back and forth. I don't know when it was. But.
I'll never forget. I was in Asheville. I had just did a show with Austin Royal. And you, like, right before I had left to go do the show, me and you were doing something. I think it might have been a Brick Hill Village project or something. And you was like, yo, bro, I'm going to send you some beats. And I'm like, beats?
I don't know what happened from that.
I'm like, wait, what? And then
it was something we were talking about.
Because you was like, that's how the whole Dipset shit came up and everything. And I'm just like, wait. What? I'm like, yo, rewind. You make beats? And then you was like, yeah, bro, that was my past life, though, bro. Like that. And I'm like, past life? What? I don't understand those types of words. Like, that's your whole life. That's a part of life right now.
But, I mean, I mean, I didn't actually, like, even the art. Like, I think, education just takes a lot out of you. And, like, to me, I've always been creative, but when I became an educator, I think I was using creativity in that way. Okay. So I like a lot of it wasn't like I wasn't producing art or producing music actively in the same way, but I was using the same part of my brain. It just takes up a lot of time. But I stopped producing probably in 2012. So actually right before I moved to Charlotte. 2011, 2012, and then didn't start doing art really actively until 2020.
Right, when we did the projects, right.
So, I mean, now I'm doing it. It feels like it's all the time, but now I'm trying to hold on to it more and like help push myself to find a balance of it. But yeah, the music was great. I mean, I remember I have so many like just memories of like.
Kind of talk about some of those placements. And people.
No, I mean I work with Dipset, work with Rough Riders. I mean the gamut, Graph, Theophilus London when he was like just performing in the Lower East Side.
Okay.
Just different folks. I remember like being in the studio with X. I remember like my wife now was pregnant and like was like I remember telling her. I remember having to teach in the morning and like but like telling her like I got to go to Yonkers. To the studio and like it's a testament of like what it feels like to have like a strong supportive woman, black woman in your life.
Wow.
But yeah, I went to Yonkers, came home at 5 a.m. Went to school the next day, taught kids. But yeah, sometimes it was like that. It was doing that kind of stuff. I've had a Ross placement. It's just been good. It was a good chapter of where like where it was, and I think moving here it just was about like getting my bearings again. Like imagine like moving from a place that like you can call anyone to like you don't know anybody.
Why Charlotte?
So a lot of my family actually moved to like Monk's Corner, South Carolina.
That's where Charlamagne the guy from.
Yeah, that's where Charlamagne
Monk's Corner. I've never heard of that. Wow.
And I went there to visit. I think at that time I had two younger, like they were both under the age of 2. I went there to visit and I was like, man, this is like too rural for me. Like there's deers. I've never seen a deer. It freaked me out. You can't go to the store like after 6. It was just like a lot.
It's a different lifestyle.
It was a lot.
Different
it was
lifestyle.
A lot. So I had a cousin that like moved his family, who also it was a lot for. He moved his family to Charlotte, and he would just go home every weekend. He would just drive home every weekend.
He would go back to New York every week?
No, he was working in Moncks Corner, but he would drive to Charlotte.
Oh, drive to Charlotte. Okay. Yeah.
So he was like, "Well, go check out Charlotte." And I came here and I loved it, and I wasn't sure that my wife would love it, but because she's from the Lower East Side, so she's also like a city girl. She came, she loved it too, and I mean, I'm more calculated with education, so I just waited on the right opportunity, and it came. We made the move and spent 2-3 years just like grinding, like understanding where I was and like who was here. And now, almost 12 years later, like it's home. It's like a big part of the work that I'm doing. And, I don't see myself moving back to New York. I feel like my purpose now is to continuing to like pour into the city in a variety of ways. So it's home.
It's weird. I feel like everybody that I've ever known in my life from New York always says that.
Yeah.
Like they literally are like, yeah, I'm never moving back. And I'm like, why would you say that?
Yeah.
That's like if I leave Charlotte and I'd be like, oh, no, I'm never moving back. It's like, I don't know if I would say that.
I don't know. It's just like, I think it's because I got 4 kids. I got a whole family. So it's like, you could like own something here.
Right.
Like you can't own anything in New York. You could barely afford a parking space. Right?
I feel you.
I had a car and I would only drive it on Sundays to the grocery store.
Wow.
Yeah.
One day a week?
One day a week, and half the time I'd get tickets because you have to move it back and forth across the street for the sweepers. So like it's just like little things that add up. So I mean, maybe I'd be different if I was like by myself, but like when I think about like setting a foundation of like generational wealth and like creating opportunities for our own kids, it's Charlotte.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
Wow.
I feel
Like
the
my
same
roots
way.
are here.
That's a beautiful
Hopefully, like we could plant them with them, and then they see that going forward. Like, so I think that's how you build. When I think about generational wealth, it's not just money, but it's about like social capital and like connections. Like, what does it look like for them 10 years from now to talk to you and be like, oh, I'm Ricky's son, looking for a job. Like that's social capital. Like building when I think about me building my network, it's their network.
Right.
Like everything is for my kids. Right.
You know what's crazy about you saying that? When I was a kid, I never understood. Like, you remember when ATL first came out?
Yeah.
And like, I'm sitting in the theater. I'll never forget. You need to notice something, son. It's not always what you know, but who you know. Yeah. And then it's like, at that time, I was smart. So like, I got good grades, all that shit. So I'm like, I never understood. I'm like, yo, this is the dumbest thing ever. Like, this makes no fucking sense. But then becoming an adult, like me and Hefe talk about this all the time. Who you know. I talk with my mom about how getting older, like my reach of resources is changing. Like the older I get, the more people of importance and reachability and resource and movement I'm able to capitalize or connect with.
Yeah.
And they're like, I never understood that. Like, but the more I know people, the more I learn. It's like, damn, it really is all about what or who you know. The what you know comes into place once you get past the barriers.
I take it a step further. I don't know if it's, for me, I don't think it's just who you know, but it's like what you've done with who you know. Because like,
okay,
a perfect example, I know who Harvey Gantt is. I can call Harvey Gantt, but I've done nothing with Harvey Gantt. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So, but how many things have we done?
Right.
Tons.
Right.
All right. So I think of it like that. Like I think about like, it's like how many positive experiences have you had to like build with somebody where then you can just pick up the phone and be like, can you connect me with this? Or, you know, like that's what I think about. So I think it's a combination, but I think that's a big part of it is like, when I think about the growth of our city, I think about like there's such a creative movement of folks that are just like in the same place in the same places all the time. And it's exciting. Like even the event the other night, like it's exciting to see people meet who haven't met.
Right.
Or like, y'all need to talk. I don't know what, but y'all just need to like share information.
Like I just found out recently, I never knew Frank Zombie was from the Bronx until he
that's
did.
our connection.
Like literally, like and it's crazy because you connected us, but I never knew like just following
and
up.
He produces,
right? And that's what like, I remember you told me. You're like, yo, Frank, he's a DJ. Paul, he produces. Y'all need to connect. Like, and I never understood. Like once he showed me that visual that he did at the Frame at the Mill spot, he like. I understand him more now. Yeah. Like him telling his story behind the project he's doing with the Air Force Ones. I'm like, okay, this is I get it now. I get Frank Zombie now. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like you branch and bridge a lot of that. Like you get people together, you get people talking, and then you like, yo, okay, it makes sense to y'all now? All right, bet, let's roll.
Yeah.
You know, like it's kind of that.
I'm also like really big on like organic things. So sometimes I'm connecting you or people and I'm like, I don't know what, but y'all just need to talk. It may be nothing right now.
Right.
It
may
be something
in the future
at some point.
Yep.
Right.
And
like I tell them about you all the time. Be like, yo, yeah, the homie Ricky got me. Da, da, da. And then like, and people just be like, who's Ricky? And then when I show them, they be like, oh, that's him. Da, 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 da. Like,
there's only one of me in the city right now.
Right.
Right. But yeah, no, I mean, it's excited to see just like connecting people, and I just find that most people have been in Charlotte. I find most people have been in the same room with people, but may not have had a conversation with them.
Yeah, that's Charlotte.
Yeah,
Charlotte will.
Yeah. Like, so I see that. I'm like, oh, y'all need to talk,
right? Because you come from a place where we're good. You talk first. Like it's like like it's like immediately. Like you talk first, and like granted. I'm that type of person. I'll just start a conversation. Like that's how we became best friends. I just started a conversation, you know. But it's like that's a thing. Like here in Charlotte, it's the cool thing to do is like, yo, you just kicking back, not saying nothing. Yeah. I'm about to be fuck all that shit weird. I'm about to come over there and talk. You know, let's get it going. You know,
when I was working on building this school, I spent like a whole year just connecting.
Just doing landfill research. Like.
It was probably kind of shaved down to about 4 months because then COVID happened, but I would go everywhere. Everywhere and anything to like get a better understanding of the landscape because I knew that the high school we wanted to create, we wanted it to be rooted in the city and the champions in the city. So like, how do I do that work without connecting with those people first? Absolutely. And sometimes I would hit somebody up, and I'd be like, look, I've seen you at least 3 times, and I don't know anything about you.
Right.
Let's grab, like literally be like, yo, let's grab a coffee.
Boom.
You know? Because I think Charlotte's that place where you just do end up seeing a lot of the same faces, but do you stop and be like, oh, I didn't talk to this person yet. Or I don't know what they actually do.
It's one thing you said about we always like to have a few teaching moments during the episode. And currently, a lot of artists or producers, engineers, they know about sync placements. They know about, getting signed to an agency or a label, things like that. Kind of talk about what the placement process was like during the early 2000s. Like, kind of talk about
I don't know that
how
exists
that
anymore
worked.
here.
Right, like just kind of talk about
what it was like.
Yeah, like what was that like? What was getting placements? What was that process like in the early 2000s?
Getting placements was like you had to have the hottest beat at that time. And you had to be in the right place. That was more likely what it was. So, like, when I was going into Rough Rider Studio in the Yonkers, it was me and, like, 4 other producers, right?
Wow.
And we all playing beats. But, like, I knew once I was about to play mine, I had to come with the hottest beat. Right? It had to be the beat that, like, people were going to ugly face. I was like, oh, no, that's it. Let's just stop. Let's cue it up.
Cue it up. Okay.
Let's go, right?
So it was always like a battle of the bands with all the producers.
Back then it was always like that. But I think about hip-hop then, too. Like, you think about, like, that was, like, the time of ciphers. Like, I don't know of what, like, that still exists today. But I know that, like, you had to be the hottest spitter at that time. You had to have the craziest punchlines. You had the craziest flow in order to even like step in that booth. And that's what I remember most from studio moments. I remember like just like even like just moments in Brooklyn. Like you just had to have the hottest item at that time and in the right place.
Right place, right time, right beat.
Time. Like load it up, have all the files, and like ready to go.
But like now, so like people meet on Instagram. How do you meet people to even get in the room back then? Like during that time.
Now you
word
just
of mouth.
Email somebody.
Right. You email somebody.
No, I mean, word of mouth. It was like
wow. So
it was word of mouth.
It
was like just spending time with people for the sake of spending time with people.
Mm-hmm.
So if you imagine it was like now you would follow someone on Instagram and be like, look at their following.
Mm-hmm.
Before it was like, I'm gonna spend time with this person and I'm gonna just like be with them all week.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever they go, I'm just gonna roll with them. And it's like and then you meet whoever they're meeting in person though.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like the in person of just like the virtual.
Okay. So everything was like a follow to.
Everything was in person. Everything like there was no. I don't remember. I mean, yeah, there was email, but I don't think I ever got a placement from email.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think email, if I remember, it was used primarily to just like send MP3s, send snippets, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But like every paperwork was in hand. Like everything was still like come to the office, come in person. I mean, but even you look back to those videos back then, like people would still like perform the Atlantic Records and like.
Right.
Like it was the
standing
whole
on the table.
Yeah, it was like the record labels would actually come to the studio. You know, like it
back
was
when the A&R was actually an
A&R, right? It was A&R. You know what? Actually, the A&R played a big role in placements.
Back then.
Yeah.
Okay.
The A&R played a big role because the A&R was really just curating it. You know,
putting the whole vibe together,
putting it all together. But yeah, I mean, I think it was just really about building relationships, being in person. And if I think about it now, I took those two things into education, into other things in art. It's just, and I try to push that as well. It's like, yeah, it's cool to connect with people on Instagram, but like sometimes it's cool just to like catch up for a drink or coffee just because, like not because there's a intended purpose sometimes. And that's what those moments were. When I went to the studio in Yonkers or wherever it might be, or Brooklyn or East Flatbush, it wasn't because like I knew I was going to do something. It was, you don't know what's going to happen, but you knew you had to be prepared for it.
Right.
So back then, like, yeah, I'd have like the whole CD booklet bag, you know, like.
Wow, the whole shit.
The whole thing. Like, you wasn't having no laptops.
That's crazy.
Or like I'd carry the MPC or whatever it was. So it was just different. It was different. I look back at that now, though, and I'm like, I don't know how I stayed up that late and then went to work.
Had to do what you had to do.
It was crazy.
Insane.
It was crazy.
I want to get into the A6 project a little bit. Just through talking with Paul, I actually heard my man Dave Has Wings had a little hand in.
He had a big hand.
Yeah.
So
if you could just, you know what I'm saying, talk about how that even came about.
It was it was through him. I mean, I think like so he hit me up I think in 2020. And that's a good example, right? He was someone that I knew I wanted to connect with, but not because I needed something at the moment. It was just like, oh, this is someone that like the youth will look up to at some point. When I open up this
he's
school.
our mayor. You got to know.
There we go, right?
Yeah,
so like,
I don't know that.
Definitely.
He hit me up and was like, oh, there's a, you know, he told me a little bit about an opportunity about doing a sneaker design class. And he kind of helped usher things along the way. And when he was with the Whitaker Group, to work with ASICS during that COVID time. He like transitioned out, you know, from Zoo House and a variety of other things, but he was instrumental in at least, you know, bringing the opportunity to the table and then helping to like push it forward and support the kids and myself through it. But I mean, like, I'm still like, it still hasn't like fully settled in that like we have a whole shoe,
like a whole
internationally, and like you know,
wow.
I think as things like settle down, I'm still waiting for that, right? Because it's a good thing that things are still running. It'll settle in, but you know, I knew that we were like aiming to, like the goal was to get to a sneaker, but like I don't know if I really thought it would matriculate in the way that it did or in the time frame. I mean, 3 years is a long time, but I don't know if I actually thought we would have gotten to the end. Like we went through a lot of obstacles along the way, not because of those Whitaker Group, social status, or ASIC, but just the time, like COVID. It just
that whole 2 year down period, right?
But I'm super grateful for like the ASICS team and Whitaker Group to help like continue to like just rock with us and like push it forward and keep on pushing it forward. And like now we're here and it's like out, which is crazy.
That is insane.
Talk a bit about the actual shoes itself.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pick it up. Sure. So there's like two colorways. Like one, I think the gray colorway kind of like the whole theme is eternal summer. So even like when you look at the paper, the paper actually has the kid's handwriting.
Oh, wow.
But some people don't see it right away. So one of the activities we had was like helping them, because they were like remote, remember? So helping them think through like. So one of the questions was like, what are the words that come to mind when you think of summer? So like when you look at it, I'll let y'all see it right now. Oh wow! You actually really see their handwriting.
Oh wow!
Yeah. All right.
So it's almost like different text, but
it's their words, right? So like when they think about what came to summer, when they're thinking about it, it was like, relax, eventful, bliss, home. This probably means more to me than the actual shoe.
Wow.
Right? A lot of people don't. Some people have realized it, some people haven't. But
the detail.
The detail. So the sneaker tied to the paper is Eternal Summer. And it's the idea of like, so the gray kind of resembles the fall, the gray clouds, the playground kind of coming back to school. And then the Moroccan yellow kind of resembles like sunshine and getting to like summer break. But super comfortable. Always been like an Asics fan, but big on comfort. And I mean, it's amazing. Like it's crazy. Crazy. So a lot of different materials, suede. There's like some pieces of kind of like canvas. Somebody asked me today, they keep asking me like which one is my favorite color, but I don't think I have one right now.
It's crazy. The first time I saw him when we did the private screening, like the private event, and I'm like, yo, it was those for me. But
everyone, I feel like this one was the first.
But this is the sleeper.
Which one are you wearing the most? If you have, put them into the rotation.
They're in the rotation. Okay. So the gray one, I'm wearing more like when I'm in a professional setting now. So like I'll put this with suit pants and a white shirt. This I'm wearing more like weekends. But I don't know. I've seen it styled the same way. I don't know. I like the hint of the coral.
Honestly, when I saw Melissa Chanel put like a more streetwear fit to it, it kind of like made me like, okay, we can dress this down a little bit. Because when I first saw it, I'm thinking like, oh yeah, this is kind of like a little more, not corporate, but like we can move around in those spaces. Yeah, very mellow. That's more so like that's the streetwear, the urban wear, but. Once I saw this kind of flipped with a dress down, but fashion look, it's like, oh, nah, those are hard. Those are hard.
Like, I just actually spoke to Melissa today.
Oh, yeah. Shout out Melissa. Great friend of the company, of the brand. She's been great. We've done a lot of work, over the years. And I just DJ'd her event with Destiny. Kicks and Froze. She just did an event at the Frame. And it was incredible. Oh, man. She had they gave out what do you call them? Like ornament keychains with sneakers on them.
Oh, that's hot.
So like all the best releases of this year were like on keychains, and she gave like little shoe boxes like that.
Yeah, we just talked and like trying to think forward to the new year. I think that's a big part of what's happening since the release is like just people reaching out and just trying to like plan for the new year and like what's next. Right, we have a whole boutique that we opened up.
We have a whole installation.
Right. Whole boutique here called The Flex. And just trying to think about like what is our next, what are the next moves we're going to take? Now, what is the next move? But like, what are the few ones we're going to take for January and like just starting the year off right, you know?
That's incredible. Kind of talk about, I know we got to the ASIC point, but I want to kind of talk about that 2020 time with the Betas Forward Strong project, because that was a serious time in our community. Not to mention, when you told me you actually live in the Betas Forward community,
I still do.
That's what really connected for me when you reached out for us to join that project. I'm like, this is incredible. Like you actually live in the community, you've been here for a while, and you see a need that needs to be filled. So it's like, I mean, kind of talk about how it came about.
Yeah, I mean, I moved to the West Side. Probably about 3 or 4 months after I moved to Charlotte, and it felt like home, and it still does. Like, I believe that your community is who you build. Again, that theme, like who you build connections to. I didn't actually really realize that area of the city had a negative reputation until I started telling people where I was from.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't really know.
Shit go down different on the west
Right,
side.
right.
Very different.
But I would honestly correct them because I'm like, you could live in any part of any city, in any state, and have issues. I'm a firm believer that's the energy you put out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's usually sometimes what the energy comes back. Mm-hmm. But it felt like home. I could walk to the barbershop. I could walk to the corner store. Mm-hmm. I could build relationship with those around me. Mm-hmm. So when that kind of massacre occurred, I think I was coming off of painting uptown at the Black Lives Matter joint.
Oh, okay.
With,
at the mural.
Charlotte Art League, the mural, and all that stuff. And I wanted to do something that was going to honor the moment in a way that paid tribute to those that were lost at that time, but also those that were still grieving. And wanted to push those around me to use art as a way to heal. Because, I mean, I've lost my brother. So I'm thinking about, like, grieving. You can grieve all your life, you know. Sometimes you do need vehicles to help kind of move through it. So for my thing, it was like, okay, well, let's beautify the West Side, right? I see all these murals kind of everywhere, which is great. But how do we bring some of that energy over to the West Side? And I know the work of the historic West End Partners and For the Struggle was monumental in kind of kicking off Babies Word Strong. And you know, now we're what, almost 3 years later, and like the West Side is completely painted. You know, like it's just like
different.
I just finished the mural yesterday.
Yeah, I saw you and Serge doing.
Yeah. We just finished.
Yep.
So like, I think it's cool to see art continuing to like be in moments of healing, but also like encouragement. Like I think about the kids, my kids, whoever it might be, growing up on the West Side, that can like see these beautiful colors and like see portraits and faces that look like them. I think about the work of Abel and Georgie and just other artists that are pouring into the West Side, and like I think it helps to instill a sense of like pride.
It's crazy when I look at that block because like we all have ties to that street. Like my great grandparents, they lived on English Drive, right behind the bleachers on of West Charlotte. Like you can see the little where they practice. What's the little thing called shock put? Where the sand. The literally like the sand and shock put practice area is right behind my great grandma's house. So like I used to hear games and when I was a kid, before I could even go outside, you know what I'm saying, to a high school football game. And my grandfather played there. He was a legendary defensive end for West Charlotte. So the whole it was I gotta go. I gotta come do my due diligence.
I felt like that's what was happening at that time. It was like everyone either had some kind of connection to the West Side personally or poured time into it.
Absolutely.
But it's cool to see things come full circle 3 years later, and like the West Side is painted like crazy, and like
look at Archive. Look
right,
at that whole
Archive,
strip.
Right. Look at those
that whole strip
corners of
is
LaSalle.
Literally revitalized at this point. And they're about to do it. Remember they were tearing it down when we were doing the wall? Or they closed it down. That they're about to renovate that one across the street.
That's the work of Christopher Dennis and his real estate company.
Okay.
And Chris was instrumental in like helping to think through some of the work with those murals and just like helping to find placements. I mean, the list is long for those that like continue to pour back into the West Side. And I feel like we all kind of look up to Jitanya Adams and the work of Historic West End, and like those from For the Struggle and other like of the elders of the West Side that continue to help weigh in and help shape what they believe the future should be and what the present should be. So it's cool to be continuing to pour back in a lot of different ways. Archive is a great example of like what it looks like to bring a black institution on the West Side, right? There's also like a black architect company. Like there's just so much that's growing there.
Right. The cleaners that you did.
So I mean, even the fish market, like they've kind of revitalized, and the drum shop is going through a renovation.
Nicky's.
Yeah. So it's cool. It's cool to like see that the project, everything kind of keeps moving forward. Me and Serge just finished up a wall on the other side of Nicky's. So that's like, it's cool to like have your last wall of the year on the West Side kind of back around.
That's fine.
So we'll be dropping that photo soon. But no, I mean, it continues to be the work. And I think that like string of projects has led to just like me curating a lot more and just like creating experiences. And but I think it all goes with the same theme about like, why not? Like, why not have the symphony on the west side in an alleyway?
Right. Like, why not? And I'm glad.
Like, what if we paint in the middle of Brook Hill? Like,
why not?
Why not?
Why not? You know, it's almost like, and I love a lot of our more prominent artists from the city are from the west side. So you got Elevator J, you got Luke, you got De Niro Ferrar, you got Fetty P. Franklin. These are all people native to the west side. Yeah. You know, so that it's a beautiful thing when those same people that listen to their music are the same people coming by the project while working.
Or doing the project with us.
Or doing it with us. Exactly.
We had Luke.
Right. We had Luke.
And I love the fact that he was painting and not doing anything music related.
He wasn't doing nothing music related.
Or you.
Right. Like, I wasn't DJing nothing. We were literally painting the entire time.
I think that's a moment that like I will never forget was that alleyway.
Oh man.
That. And granted we've done it like 6 times by now. I don't know what it was. And still want to kind of continue to do more in other parts of the city, but I feel like for 23 we need to like run it back on the west side again. Right. But that was a critical moment. That was huge.
I feel like taking that same energy and spreading it to each side of the city. Yeah. Because like I used to say that all the time, like why they do the west side like that? Why they then finally it got around to it. You got that whole complex redone. Yeah. Now they're about to do it across the street. It's like we've been wanting this for 10 plus years. Yeah. You know, it's sad that it took a massacre to occur for the knowledge or the attention to be driven to the West End.
Well,
but
I think,
it's just,
you know. I mean, I think everything takes time. I mean, I think that like those that have been doing the work, like Jatanya Adams and folks there, are continuing to do the work behind the scenes that that I don't even know, but it helps things along the way. I mean, the fact that there's like a Chase there now, and you know, I think potentially another institution coming or whatever it might be, and like it just helps to like bring more revitalization to that neighborhood and preserve it. Like it's cool to see the fish market upgrading itself from the inside to the outside. Right. It's cool to like. I was in the drum shop yesterday, and he was touring me around. Seeing inside of like what's going to be in 2 months. So like, it's cool to see that the institutions are getting either funding or grants or whatever it might be, where they could still stay on the west side and revitalize there rather than going somewhere else right away. Because sometimes you can't afford it.
They done cleaned it up so much lately. Because even like that shopping center where Archive is, like 15 years ago, it was jumping.
I mean, 4 years. It was just different.
Yeah,
it was different. It was still west side. It was just different.
Right. It was a little more homegrown at that time.
Homegrown's a good word.
Yeah, said a little more native. Yeah. But kind of talk about how, speaking of grants and governmental assistance opportunities with creativity, kind of talk about how people can go about getting grants for whatever they have going on.
I mean, it's just it really comes down to like clarity. To me, it feels like it's clarity of writing for grants and like going back to a little bit of the who's who of like, who do you know that you've done something with that you could bring in on a grant? We just got a grant, Charlotte Lab School. We just got a grant with Charlotte Art League, one of the art grants through the city of Charlotte. And I think we might have gotten the biggest one, but it was like a collaborative effort between Charlotte Art League, again, like someone you know that you've done work with, coming together to put together an idea and have clarity of steps. I think for those that are new to it, you really need clarity of like what your project and scope is. And I would suggest like not going in on a grant alone, like bringing somebody along that has executed a grant already or like done the work, because it could add, like in itself, it adds a reference to it, right? So like, you might just be an unknown applicant, but they see a recognizable name. Perhaps it helps to like move the application forward. But grants are a big thing for charter schools. I mean, it's where we get a lot of our funding because again we have to pay all these operating costs. So I mean, it takes a lot of work. And I think you could teach yourself how to grant write. I did. Like it just takes like practice and like a lot of denials. But like anything else, like how many beats are you gonna make before someone gets it, right? Like, it's just like...
Right. How many shows you going to spend before...
Right. It's just like anything else.
Absolutely.
Like, it's just about the time and effort you put into it.
Right. Hefe talks about all the time so many designs that never get out of his computer. Like he... Remember the clean slate? Remember when you asked me about all the merch? Yeah. That's our head designer.
Okay.
So, like, he designs all of our work. You know,
I need some, too.
Me and Clean, we have our, opinions, but, like, with him, it's like, all right, I'll hear you. I'm going to listen to you.
I need
but
those
like,
Rockefeller pieces.
You know what I'm saying?
That's the one.
We got some pieces that Chains tees.
That's
a classic.
I need a hoodie or something. That's
so like, when it comes to that, he tells us all the time, like, we'll be like, yo, what happened to that design we was talking about 3 weeks ago? Da, 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 da. And he'll be like, oh, yeah, that never made it out the computer. But anyway, and they'll be like, nah, we trying to talk about that. Like,
that's, I mean, some of the music even now, like, even some of the singles now that people pick, sometimes it's just not the artist's favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, you ever heard the story? Everybody heard the story of, like, One More Chance? Like, it was actually, like, so I think the story goes that, like, Puffy was trying to get him to record an R&B beat because everybody, like, R&B was heavy at that time.
Right. I think that was
Juicy. Was Juicy.
Right, it was Juicy.
And he ended up losing a bet
and
forced him to record it. And that became, like, I don't know, that might have been, like, his biggest charting record ever. But, like,
date.
Some of the music that, like, is out isn't always, like, your most favorite. And I also think that people are our own worst critic.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of ideas that I have that are on somewhere,
got gems,
and I'm like,
bro, like, it'll be stuff we could drop tomorrow out of here, and he don't think it's hard. And it's just be like, bro, what?
Tough critic on myself.
He's selling so short a lot, in my opinion. Like,
but if anything, you just have a bank. I mean, you could pull from. You just never know. Right. So even like the mural I finished up with Serge yesterday, I might have designed that 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
But I think for me, sometimes like I'll put it away and I'm like, okay, I'm an organic person. When I feel like it's the right moment and the right time, I might bring it back out. Mm-hmm. And for that wall, it was like, oh, this is it. This is the time for me to bring it back out.
That's hard.
You know?
That's super fire.
So maybe that's it. Maybe it's just about timing.
It is. Yeah. That is a lot of it. A lot of it is being a tough critic on myself, but some of it is timing.
Yeah, because sometimes like what's in your head doesn't match the screen.
Right.
And then it leads people to think it's not perfect. But he's not going to know what's in your head. He's just going to look at the product.
I'm just like, yo, this is hard. It needs to roll.
I need to bring back the Chains tee.
Yeah.
The Chains tee.
It's certain things that everybody keep asking me about.
But you need to update it.
I feel like every
you need to do a new Chains
pieces of classic.
Pieces of classic.
Yeah, I feel like every clean slate piece is a
like
good piece.
When you seen the Wheaties tee with Jewels on it, you was like, yo, dude, like.
Nah, the Chains tee, though.
The Chains tee is the one, though.
I think you should bring back the Chains tee and then do a new version of the Chains tee. Because, like, what were the groups on there?
It
like
was
Rockefeller, Squad,
Cash Money, No Limit.
No Limit.
So my thing is, like, if you did a new one, what companies would that be?
It would be hard to do.
It'd be hard to do a new one, right?
No, you could. You could honor the work of those doing the work now.
Who's really doing it at that level?
There's some companies that.
I feel like the chain don't mean the same.
No, the chain don't mean the same.
Right, it doesn't.
The chain don't mean the same. But I think that like I'm not a CMG fan, but they're moving. They have a lot of artists moving the needle.
Nah, they are
absolutely.
I think Gotti one of the best execs in the game.
Right,
but there's definitely like if the chain did mean something, there are some companies that would be on the new chain. Right. Who would you put?
Other than CMG. It's kind of hard for me to.
CMG.
Nah, that's hard though. Other than that, who really got a label that's all the artists is moving? Like, think about it. Think about like you got even like I hate to bring this, but let's say YSL. You got Young Thug who's moving units. You got Gunna who's moving units. You got Duke who has like a core staple following. You know,
ain't nobody else.
Ain't nobody really moving no units though.
Yeah.
So it's like
it's got to be. I don't think it's just CMG.
But it's I'm telling you, think about every conglomerate. There's no real. It's like you got one.
When that chain meant something, everybody in the clique could drop a solo album, and it'd still be hard. As
I think you're living
album.
in a time that doesn't exist anymore.
They don't.
I would replace the word album with single. Everyone doesn't need. Everyone ain't dropping albums.
What did Asher Roth tell us like 5 years ago?
Treat the single like an album.
Boom.
Yeah.
Asher Roth told us that literally in the bottom of Green Street. That man said, yeah. I said, yo, Asher, what are you doing?
All right, here we go. Generation Now.
Mm-hmm.
All they got is Uzi and Seti.
Jack Harlow.
And Jack Harlow. But that's three people. Hold on.
You just said all they got. And you talking about moving units.
But
who's moving units like them right now?
You're right.
In that little group. They're moving some units.
Jack and Uzi is like...
Uzi moving units.
Seti's coming up.
Harlow's moving some needle.
It ain't.
Seti's coming up.
I don't know. It just don't feel the same no more. Back when the chain was a thing.
Because
people were clicked up.
Yeah, you're thinking of a clicking crew. And I think you're thinking about everybody's recording in the studio.
But think about it.
Spending nights in the studio.
Silk the Shaka album was platinum. Mystikal's album, platinum. You know what I'm saying? Everybody on the
What are the streaming numbers of Harlow and Uzi?
Bonkers.
So can we say it's platinum?
Yeah.
It's past platinum.
It's just different. It just looks different.
But you're right. Okay.
It's like, okay,
I give you that.
People can collab.
Different.
I agree. Different. Nothing's like you can the moment of collabing with somebody in the studio with you is different than doing it virtually. But it's still the impact could still be there.
Right.
So do we agree on Generation Now?
I can agree. It just don't feel the same.
It don't feel the same, but I can't agree. Because you presented great facts.
Right,
you presented great facts.
Let's say two more. What'd you put? There's got to be at least two more. It can't just be CMG.
CMG Generation Now. Who else is doing good work? I can't read lips. Who else is doing good work?
Oh, right. No, but that's a management group.
No, she's right.
Solid Foundation is a management group. Quality Control is a record label.
That's a record label. Yes. So
are they signed to QC or are they signed to...
They have a partnership. I don't
think they signed to QC.
They got a distribution... QC,
talking about?
QC is also the management group, isn't it?
No, Solid Foundation.
Solid Foundation is the management. Yeah.
But is QC the label?
Yeah, QC is the label. Money on the table.
All right, QC's another one.
Yeah, QC's one. And granted, their slope kind of came a little down because at one point... Do
you count Baby's label under QC, or do you count it on its own?
Oh, nah, it's his own thing.
I know, but do you in your head count it on its own?
Yeah, 4PF, that's a separate thing.
See, I don't count. I count it all on.
You count it all. I feel you.
QC coming back up though. They all
right, so that's
in
three.
That Detroit market.
Yeah, it's happening.
Baby Money, I swear, Vezo now.
That's three.
Yep, that's three.
I think that gotta be.
That's probably it. That's the top three.
It?
That's the three.
Nah, there's gotta be at least one more.
CMG Generation Now, QC.
Huh?
Draw.
Yeah.
Whoa. Dreamville.
Yeah, obviously.
I gotta give it. No. Not to the level. It doesn't feel the same.
Wait, did you just say nah?
It doesn't feel the same.
It actually feels. Wait, hold on. It actually feels more the same to the past than the other three.
But everybody not hard.
Everybody ain't hard.
I gotta keep it real.
Everybody ain't hard.
I think they're hard in their own lanes.
Like you got R, you got Loot. You know what I'm saying?
I think they're hard in their own lanes though. They all make different kinds of hip hop.
Like I'm listening to Ari and Loot. I
went and spun.
I think they're more click to what you're seeking than the other three by far.
I feel you.
Because they actually do record together, from what I can gather.
Yeah.
Right.
That's 4. That's your next T.
I guess I still don't feel good about putting them on the T though.
How? Wait. So out of those 4, you would say that you if you had to remove one, that would be the one to remove?
Dreamville. I'm sorry.
Oh, gosh.
Bro, Luke, you my brother. I love you,
Luke,
bro.
I love you. We just keeping it G on the Free Breakfast podcast.
I love you, bro.
I disagree by all measures. If anything, they are more of established. They're more core to what we're talking about.
Yeah, but it doesn't I can break down how each artist on No Limit changed my life. Same thing with
We're not talking about the old T.
But
we're talking about the new T. All right, but I'm saying if you compare Dreamville to those other 3, Dreamville moves more as a unit than the other 3.
It moves like an army, but it's not the same as
which is what rock was.
But Cash Money, that's a different type of army.
About the old T though.
That's a different.
But okay. So if you look at Dreamville, CMG, QC, and then the other one. Mm-hmm. You're saying, just to be clear.
Yeah, you got to remove Dreamville.
Oh, my God. Y'all are nuts.
It's only because, he a big fact person. So, you got to think, CMG, they got the facts. They got the numbers. They got the...
Yeah, but they don't move as a unit.
They don't. Nobody moves as a unit.
I think Dreamville moves more like a unit than the other 3.
Nah. They move more like a label than
There's a whole festival they do.
Yeah, but like
there's like a whole co-branding thing. Oh, God.
But man, we could go all night with this conversation, man. But we ain't gonna do it, man.
It's been another great episode, man. Ricky Singh, man, the man of many hats.
We appreciate you coming.
Oh man, the champion.
Well, we appreciate coming to you.
Yes, we
opening
came to
up
you.
Your space.
You know what I'm saying? Absolutely, man. I can't thank Ricky enough, man. The many opportunities, past, present, and future. You know, the time spent sitting down, man. The new A6, man. It's a great time. It's a great time, man.
Appreciate y'all.
We want to keep circulating education, keep elevating the youth. We want to keep creativity at the forefront. I still got all them beats you sent me, so we got volume 1.
I think I still got like 1 or 2 good ones.
Oh, bro, it's 3 in there. I ain't gonna lie. You sent me like 15, but it's 3 major bangers in there. Like, and that's how I know you still got the bug in you. So. Yeah, man. Just any last words for the people before we get up out of here?
Yeah, if you haven't done so already, or haven't thought about how you plan to connect with Charlotte Youth for 2023, tap in with me or anybody else at this table.
Absolutely.
So we can start to talk about that.
Let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, Mr. Ricky Singh. But yeah, I'm looking for folks that have already done so, that are trying to move the needle forward, or want to connect with the youth but aren't sure how or what. Okay. So allow me to be a thought partner with you in that work for 2023.
Absolutely. Okay. It's been amazing, man. Ricky Singh, Hefe Lockhart. I am DJ Paulie Guwap. This is the Free Breakfast Podcast, and we are checking out.
Yes, sir.
Be good.